millions of popular SUVs could actually be banned from public roads by 2026. New federal regulations are the reason why. So let's break down exactly what's being claimed and what it could mean for you.
So what's the core of this whole thing? Well, the argument is that new federal regulations, supposedly kicking in around 2026, are targeting vehicles for what critical safety and emissions failures. And look, we're not talking about minor recalls here. The claim is that regulators have decided some problems are just flat out too dangerous to be on the road.
And the scale of this? It's just staggering. Somewhere between 15 and 20 million vehicles could be hit by just one of the new rules we're going to talk about today. This affects some of the most popular family vehicles sold in the last decade. It's a huge number.
Okay, let's dive right into this list. We're going to start the countdown with vehicles that are being targeted for some really specific and, in some cases, truly terrifying mechanical defects that have reportedly led to some serious accidents and injuries.
First up at number 7 is the Jeep Cherokee, but specifically models with the 2.4-liter engine. The critical issue is that the engine can just stall, completely without warning, at highway speeds. I mean, imagine that for a second. You lose your power steering, you lose your brakes. It's an absolute nightmare to try and control in traffic. And, the financial fallout for owners has been severe. The source is reporting that because this major safety defect is still unresolved, the resale value on these Cherokees has just plummeted by 30, even 40%. So a vehicle that really should be worth around $22,000 is now getting trade-in offers as low as $13,000. Ouch.
Next up is one of America's best-selling vehicles, the Honda CR-V. And it's on this list for a really bizarre and dangerous problem, where gasoline actually leaks past the piston rings and gets into the engine oil. They call it oil dilution, and it basically ruins the oil's ability to lubricate, leading to major engine wear and eventually total engine failure.
And yeah, just like the Jeep, this is a direct financial hit for the owners. Be trading for about $22,000 is now selling for closer to $16,000. That's a $6,000 drop in value on average, directly because of this mechanical flaw.
Coming in at number 5, we've got the Ford EcoSport. Now this one's a little different. It's not flagged for a mechanical failure, but because it apparently fails to meet new, mandatory minimum safety standards in crash tests, especially one called the small overlap front test. So this puts owners in a really tough spot. Some states are apparently offering a kind of loophole. You can keep the vehicle registered if you pay for a costly safety retrofit. But with that retrofit costing between $4,000 and $6,000, well, that might be more than the car is even worth.
The Hyundai Tucson is on this list for a defect that can cause the vehicle to just spontaneously catch fire. And here's the most terrifying part. This can happen even when the vehicle is parked and turned off. We're talking hours after being driven, with reports of these fires spreading to people's homes and garages. It's unbelievable.
Even when the manufacturer steps in with a buyback program, see, the offers are based on the current market value, which is already tanked because of the fire risk. This leaves a lot of owners financially underwater, owing more on their car loan than the buyback is even worth.
So, number 3 isn't a single model, but a whole group of diesel SUVs. We're talking about manufacturers like Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes that were found to have made vehicles that actively cheated on emissions tests. The result was that during normal, everyday driving, they were polluting way, way beyond the legal limits. Now, what's really fascinating is how they did it. The vehicles used something called a defeat device, which is basically smart software that knows when it's being tested for emissions. It switches into a special clean mode just long enough to pass the test. But the second the test is over, it switches right back to its normal high-emission mode, polluting in some cases up to 40 times the legal limit. This is an extremely popular SUV, but it's cited for widespread failures of its continuously variable transmission, or CVT. These transmissions are failing at an absolutely alarming rate, often between 60,000 and 80,000 miles. That's way before they should be. And the reputation of these transmissions is apparently so bad that the resale market for the Rogue has just collapsed. Owners trying to trade in their vehicles are getting these shockingly low offers. The source says some dealers are offering as little as $6,000 for a model that, without this issue, should be worth around $15,000. And now we've arrived at the number 1 issue, potentially affecting more owners than all the others combined. We're not talking about a single defect or manufacturer anymore. This claim is about a massive regulation that targets a huge chunk of all SUVs on the road today.
The new regulation says that to be registered, all vehicles must have these modern safety systems. Now, just think about that for a second. These are features that are pretty much standard on new cars today, but just a few years ago, they were expensive options, or they didn't even exist on most SUVs.
And this list of popular models just drives home how massive this claim is. I mean, we are talking about millions of the most common family SUVs sold over the last decade. The argument here is that these vehicles that families have relied on for years could become illegal to register just because they don't have technology that's only become common very recently. So if you own one of these vehicles, this all probably sounds pretty bleak, right? But what are the potential options? Few possible ways to navigate these new rules, so it's not all bad news. The key takeaway here seems to be that you need to be proactive. The rules, the deadlines, and any financial help you might get can be very different from state to state. Waiting until the last minute before your registration is up is apparently the easiest way to take the biggest financial hit. This really puts the choice into perspective, doesn't it? I mean, spending $3,000 to $4,000 to retrofit an older SUV you might have bought at a discount could be a pretty savvy financial move, especially if you can get some state rebates. But for other people, the cost and the hassle just might not make sense compared to upgrading. So what's the big takeaway from all this? That regulations are shifting from just focusing on new cars to actually policing the entire fleet of cars already on the road. If that's true, it would be a massive change for every single driver. The big question is, will these regulations actually happen as described? For now, it's a powerful reminder that the rules of the road are always changing, and it definitely pays to stay informed.